Hi, I'm Bet from Bet's Makes, and today we're going to be making some planner covers and a couple of planner pages. And I just want to show you all of the things that we're going to need. You're going to need some kind of cutting implement. It could be scissors. I'm just going to use my Cricut board here. You're going to need your Cricut machine, whether you have an Explorer or a Maker. We're also going to need a couple of standard mats and, of course, some paper that's going to go with it. I have just got this Craft Smart paper pad, and I'm going to use a couple of the pieces out of it. But as you can see, there's all kinds of designs to choose from for your cover. Now, this particular cover is not a double-sided paper, but I am going to use some of these pages in order to make an embellishment. For our other paper, I simply used a double-sided, and by double-sided, I mean I've just used a piece of beautiful printed paper that has a color on the back and a solid core, because what we're going to do when we do this particular project is these covers are going to be standalone. And of course, you're going to need some rings. And what I mean by standalone, it has a pattern on one side, and on the other side, it has a plain color. So we don't really worry too much about that. You could have the white on the back side and decorate it for your own. For the extra inner pages, I just used a heavier cardstock here for my pages. And I could make something on the back as well. But today we're going to learn how to design this. And also for embellishments, as I mentioned before, I'm going to put something on the front cover. And I'll probably pick something that's pretty plain to put on the front cover and then write my own message on top of it to add to what I already have. And last but not least, this is a laminating sheet. And over here, I think it's pretty warm, but I'll just bring it over. I have a small laminating machine that I'm going to be used for our project. But you could use the self-adhesive laminating parts if you want. Now, that is all the supplies and materials we're going to need. The only other thing you may want to have, of course, is a pen in order to write what you want on the top of your planner, whatever that happens to be, or you can just simply use something that's already there without writing your name on the inside. You can put that on a different page within your planner. So right now, what we have is a design that we're going to go through. So those are the supplies that we're going to need for this project. So now we're going to design it right from scratch using the supplies that I talked about before, and we're going to be able to do those all in one shot. Okay, so let me just start a new project. I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to replace it. We have to decide what size that we are going to use for our project. And you can see on my table that I had 12 by 12 sheets that I'm going to be working with. But if you want smaller planner pages, you could use 8.5 by 11. So what I'm going to do is decide on the shape that I want for my cover. Now, all these new shapes that we have, you can pick. If you have a subscription, you can pick a lot different sizes that you have here. I'm just going to take the one with the rounded corner, and I'm going to make this an 8.5 by 11. So I have to unclick the lock here. So you can see the lock top and bottom. I'm going to click that lock open. So my width is going to be 8.5 and my height is going to be 11. Now, if you have 8.5 by 11 paper, you could cut it out, but I would suggest if you're using 8.5 by 11 paper that you make it just slightly smaller so that it'll cut out on the sheet that you have available. Now I just clicked the lock closed here, and we have, of course, a black cover, and I'm just going to make it a lighter color because I like lighter colors, just easier to work with. Now that's not too bad. Now this is going to be a cover. Now there's going to be a couple of ways we can do this. I can give you what I call happy planner punches that will fit here, that will cut out automatically, or you can just simply cut these out and then apply your own stamp that puts the holes in for the happy planner or whatever that happens to be. I just happen to have a file that'll be absolutely perfect for this. And I'm going to click on my uploads here. I have one just called Happy Planner Punches, and it's available in the resource library. So if you want one, you can grab it from there. And these particular punches I know are going to fit in exactly where I want them. Now, I don't want all of this. I don't need these extra pieces. So I am going to come over here to the layers panel. I'm going to click on ungroup. I don't need these extra ones. I'm just going to delete them. And this one is a group. It's actually one group by itself. And I'm just going to highlight both of these. Now, this is really easy to do. I'm going to align them to the left, and I'm going to align them vertically. So now they're in the perfect position. Now, one last thing I want to do here is I highlight them both. I'm going to slice them, and that will give me the cut out piece that I need. I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to delete it because I don't need it anymore. Now, this would be the front cover. If I wanted another cover for the back and I wanted to do it at the same time, I can do one of two things. I can have them cut out separately on different sheets, or I can put them both on one sheet and just make them smaller so that they fit in. Remember, if you shrink this after it's been cut, then the spacing for the Happy Planner cutouts is not going to work that well for you. So quite often I just duplicate it and I know I'm going to have two pieces. Now, the other part that I want is a to-do list that is going to fit in here. So I wanted to grab my shapes again. I want another one of these. I'm going to unlock it, and it can be the same size and it can have the same cutouts if I want, or I can make it slightly smaller. Now, I tend to make mine the same size because I like to capitalize on it. But if you wanted to make it smaller, you can, instead of 8.5 wide, you could make it 8 inches wide, and I could make it 10 inches tall. And so it would be a little bit smaller here, so it would fit right in. But you'll notice that when I make it that small, it's not going to fit with these different punches. It's going to be too small for the punch. So if you want to make it smaller, you can. Right now, I'm just going to delete this because I'm not going to need it right away. I'm going to take the second piece that we made and just move this one out of the way. What we're going to do is take this back cover one that we've made, and since we haven't cut it out, I'm going to make it a to-do list, and then I will duplicate over here. So the first thing I want to do is make the words to do that will fit on the top. And I can just use a plain old font that's here, or I can go through and see what else they have that looks a lot nicer. So if we have one, it's called DTC Airy Fresh. Just going to click on it. Looks pretty good. I'm going to unlock it. And let's just click on it again. Okay, let's just change the color. Just going to change it to a raspberry color, and it's unlocked. So I might just stretch it out a bit. And from that stretch out right there, I'm going to center it, both of these. So I'm going to align, and I'm going to center it horizontally so it actually sits in the middle. Now that is an easy thing to do. I'm just going to group those together just in case I make a mistake and move it out of the way by accident. Now the next thing we want to do is make the lines that are going to go down our to-do list. So the easy way to do this is to come over here. I'm going to grab a line, just grab it over here. Now I'm going to have to rotate this 90 degrees to go sideways. Perfect. Let's start it over here, and I'm just going to drag it across to what I think I need. Just take a look and see how far over it goes. Not too bad. Now the biggest issue with this line, as you can see, it's a score line. Well, we don't want a score line. It's going to come up here to operations and change it from score, and I'm going to change it to a pen, and I'm just going to leave it black for now. Now our next job is to put all lines all the way down, and you may be thinking that, oh, this sounds dreadful. I'm going to have to make all these lines and, measure them all out. Well, let's make it easy on ourselves. So I've clicked on the line here. You'll see the width is 7.514. Let's make it an even number of 7.5. Perfect. Okay, nothing else to do except now we're going to come over here and duplicate. And it's approximately the right length all the way down. I'm just going to keep clicking on duplicate until I get close to the bottom. That looks pretty good. Now let's just take this guy and I'm just going to move it out of the way. And what I want to do is take all of these lines that we just made. I don't want to move them, but I want to align them to the left. Looks great. Now I'm going to move this back into position. And as you can see, those lines are lining up exactly the way I want them. So let's grab all this together and let's group it so we don't mess it up. Now, these are pen lines in black. That's a pen line in red. And let me find the red one down here. There it is. It still says basic cut down here. So I'm going to move it over here to a pen, just double checking. And I am going to make it a raspberry color. And then I can fill it in later. So now we have a very, very simple to-do list. And I'm just going to attach everything together here. That looks great. Now I wanted 2 of these covers, as I mentioned before, so I'm going to duplicate that. So I have everything I absolutely need for my simple planner, front and back cover, and a to-do list. Now I'm just simply going to make this, and let's just click on save here, and I'm just going to call this simple planner cover and to-do list. And I'm just going to make it part of my December makes here because this is perfect for the new year. I'm going to click on save. Absolutely ideal. So that's all I need. And all I need to do now is go over and click on make it. And I will make sure I turn my machine on and get it all ready. Now we're going to go on matte with this. And I'll just click on done. It should give me 3 mats. So you'll see it goes slightly over the 11-inch. So if you're using 11-inch paper, you're going to run into an issue. So I tend to use double-sided 12 by 12 paper to cut these. And then I can use the extra pieces for another part of the project. Now I should have the to-do list and of course another cover. So I've got 2 covers and 1 to-do list, and it's all going to work on one side. So we only have 3 things to cut here. I'm going to click on continue and select my maker. It'll just take a second or 2, and then I'll show you what paper I'm going to choose. Now I can choose different ones for each ones, but I'm just going to use a medium cardstock. It's asking for the pen, and it's asking for the fine point blade. So we are pretty well ready to go. Pre-cut mine so that we can go ahead and take a look at how to put this together. I'm just going to shut my machine off right now and just move it out of the way so that we can work on our space here. Now I've already cut one of these out already, and I put it on the inside. Just have to find it. Here we are. There's one of them I've cut already and I've laminated it. So I'm going to show you the whole process of how to go through with this. Now this has been cut. I'm just going to remove the outside edge here, and you see we get all these nice little extra pieces. So what I generally do is I just keep the larger piece for an extra that I can use somewhere else and get rid of the rest of that. So I have the one. I'll just pull it off the mat out of the way. So I have one of these ready to go. And then I have my to-do list. Same thing, going to pull it off the mat. And I've used a thinner paper here, light cardstock, because it's going to be easier to write on and keep within that book. Let me just roll my mat off, and I roll my mat off so that things don't curl up when you're using them. Now the to-do list, we don't have much to do with it right now, but definitely with the covers, we've got to decide exactly what we're going to do. Now I have used my cutter here and gone through this particular block pad, and I've picked out some of the saying ones, and sometimes they're harder to see. Let's see if I can find them in here quickly. I put something like this across the top. So as you can see, you can grab some beautiful little designs and corners from some of these pads of paper. There's one that I could have used and put that on the front, simple, the simple life. Actually, what we'll do is we'll grab one of these and then we'll make a decision. So let me just take one of these out of the area and just pull it like that. Get my paper pad out of the way. Okay, I pulled one of these out. So if I decide not to use these smaller ones I pre-cut, all I need to do is take my cutter here and just cut along these lines in order to get the ones that I want. The biggest key here is to line up where it's going to be split right against that line and try not to move it. You want to have it as accurate as possible and then hold it in place, and then you can simply just cut that in half. And the same thing when you're coming across this way. What you want to do is line everything up. Now you can get all kinds of different designs in some of these pads that you can use for later. And I've got one more to cut here. Just want to show you the process of what I go through. And sometimes it's a little more awkward when there's a lot on there. Right now, we're not going to design our own. We could have, but I'm just going to use what's already there. I'll just put my cutter away for now so that's out of the way. So what I want to do is decide, what I want to do on my front cover. Now that is pretty big, so I might not want that on the front cover, but I do have some smaller ones, and I can just decide what I want to do with that one. But I had one, the Simple Life, here too, but I just don't see it offhand. And I don't think I put it inside here, but I do have a couple more in here that I can use. So I could have something on the front that says Heart and Home. And then I could decide that I want to have some extra pieces on here. Just little notes. I could probably put one like this that I could add my own signature. And I could just grab any pen, a gel pen. It doesn't matter what it happens to be. I'm using these Cricut gel pens. So I'm just going to put Bet's Notes. Bet's Notes. And that just gives me the ability to personalize what I'm going to do with my planner. Now, I don't want any of these other pieces and parts right now, so I'm just going to move those off to the side. I do have a laminating sheet that I am going to be using in my laminator, but if you don't have a laminator, you can get sheets that are already to go and you can self-laminate. You can actually get them at the dollar store. They're just called laminating sheets, so that when you put things together, you can do it that way. Now, because I've pre-punched this, and I don't have a crocodile right now in order to do the punching, what I'm going to do is I am going to line this up so that the punch holes are already through, because trying to put a punch hole through on anything that is plastic is a little tougher. I'm just going to line this up better the way I want it. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just a little bit over, a little further. So have it lined up as best as possible. And the same thing with this one. I'm going to try and center it in there. So that's Bet's Notes. Just take my little laminating sheet and see where it's not that straight right here. Just have to make sure it's straight across the bottom. Now I have the top part here. So what's going to happen right now, I'm just going to put this into the laminating machine. And I know you can't see this right now because it's really hot, and I just don't want anybody to burn themselves. So you have to keep it separately from where you're working. And it'll just take a second or two in order to go through that. Now, as I mentioned before, there's all kinds of things that you can do with this. Now, I have cut out one of the covers here. Now, here's an important part of it, because this cover has a blank side on the back. And even though it's laminated, you can add some of your own notes. Now, I noticed that I cut this one a little differently, so I'm just going to grab a pair of scissors here and pull it right through. Remember, this is not an exact science. So if you decided you wanted to take notes or you wanted a little pocket in place, you can actually put this into place and you can glue the edges or tape the edges down. What I like to do sometimes is take some washi tape and place the washi tape along so that I can put some notepads. The other thing is you can cut a diagonal line on some of these in order to make a pocket. Now I'm going to take off the piece here. Same issue, but a little extra piece that we don't want. You could also put just a saying here, and I kind of like that in a way as well. And I'm just going to glue it. This is a laminated sheet. However, with a laminated sheet doesn't mean you can't glue things. So I'm just using a tacky glue, and I'm just going to make it a saying that's going to fit on there. And I just glue it into place. Don't need a lot of glue, but just enough to hold it into place. Put the lid on, and I store mine on its side so that I can have access to it at all times. Now, the Simple Life, all I'm going to do is just add this, center it the way I want to have it so I can see it at all times. Now, the other sheet that we had is the to-do list. And because I've got them all ready and pre-printed, all I have to do is snap them into place. Now, if you have a 3-hole punch rather than a happy planner punch, you don't need to punch these holes in ahead of time. You can simply use your punch to get to it. So now we have a nice to-do list. We have a nice cover. And this is a cover that doesn't have anything on it. What I've done is push this through the laminating machine. You'll notice I have some extra top and bottom. I am just going to trim this off. I could use my trimmer, but right now I'm just going to use the scissors, and I'm going to make this a rounded corner. I don't want to get too close. I need it to stick out a little bit so that the lamination stays in place. Looks really good. And I'm just going to leave the top part as is. And there we go. We have another cover that we can use. So there's a couple of ways you can do your covers. This one, we laminated our titles inside. And then, of course, you can embellish them any way you want. So this is one way of doing it. This is having it on the back side and just a plain cover, which you can add something a little later. So you can add some different designs and take care of it from there. So that is all there is to putting these planner pages together. I hope you have a lot of fun doing this. And remember, you get these Happy Planner discs. You can get them at Michael's. You can get them at Joann's, any place that sells Happy Planners. I've even seen them on Amazon. I like having a supply of them on hand because you can personalize these and give them to anyone you want. So I hope you had a lot of fun with this. And until next time, happy crafting.